Hi everyone, Mr. Turner again. Second video for lesson preview of lesson 8. This is talking about the second aorist. Okay, and trust me, these videos are just scratching the surface of what we'll talk about in class, but giving you an opportunity to maybe look at it a few times before we meet next time. Okay, so the second aorist is slightly different, and what it has to do with mainly is ending and formation. So the aorist tense still does the same thing. It's still a past action that expresses simple aspect, and it's still found from the third principal part. The reason Greek has two aorists, sometimes called first and second, sometimes called weak and strong, is the principal parts are different. All right, so the last verb we did was a so-called regular verb. Let me give you another one from this chapter. It would be luo, luso, and then there's your augment, lusa. Right, that would be first aorist because of that sigma alpha there. That is a typical Greek verb. In fact, you talk to someone who studies Greek or has studied Greek, luo might be the most popular Greek verb because of how regular it is, similar to amo maybe in Latin. So that would be a first aorist. The second aorist example would be something like this. Lipo, right, the verb to leave, lipo. It's future tense. With morphology, you get lipo, and then look at its second aorist. You have elepon. Okay? Elepon. There's your second aorist. So the sign of a second aorist would be omicron nu in your third principal part rather than the sigma alpha in the third principal part. So for this video, we'll focus on second aorist. So let's get rid of the first aorist. Here we go. Lipo, lipso, elepon. Okay. And if you're referring to your textbook in lesson 8, I'm on page 32 right now. Okay. And as your textbook mentions, it has a third principal part that ends in omicron nu, just as this one does, elepon. And the aorist stem is found by dropping it. Okay. So to get this stem, you would drop the on, and there you go, and you would add your endings. Okay. The endings are a little different than the first aorist. Okay, but you can definitely see some pattern. You'll recognize a pattern with the endings you've encountered thus far. So let's just quickly conjugate this verb in the second aorist. We'll break it up by parts. So you have el lip on, I left, el lip es, you left, el lip he, she, or it left, on as and then for your plurals you have el lip amen, okay, el lip amen, and you have el lip ete, el lip ete, el lip on. So the endings real quickly, instead of sas, or excuse me, sa, sas, se, sam, and sata, san, you now have on, es, am, and et, on. And what we call these endings, both first and aorist, we call these secondary endings. The reason they're called secondary endings is because they indicate tenses that are in the past. So aorist tense will get secondary endings. The imperfect tense will get secondary endings when we encounter it. The perfect and pluperfect tenses will get secondary endings because they all indicate past tense. Primary endings would be present and future, okay, because they are tenses that do not indicate past actions. They indicate present or future actions. So real quickly, the conjugation would be on as, am, and et, on. You have the augment, the temporal augment, the base stem for the third principal part, and then your second aorist endings, on, as, am, and et, on. And then an aorist infinitive for this, an aorist infinitive for a verb like this. Here's what we would expect. We would expect it to be the aorist stem plus the infinitive ending. But remember that the aorist does not get an augment in the infinitive. So it's just the aorist stem from the third principal part. Okay, drop the on, and then you add your infinitive sign, the ein, right? The difference is normally we would think the accent would go here on the penult, but for these second aorist infinitive, the accent goes as a circumflex on the ultima. Okay? So you add the sign of the infinitive ain, but with the circumflex accent, and it's always accented with the circumflex on the ultima. Just another quick example of a second aorist infinitive would be from the verb ago. So if we look at the principal parts of ago, you have ago, oxo, and then the third principal part of ago, which is second aorist, is agagon. Okay? The agagon there, the A is an augment, right? Is an augment of the alpha. And your textbook talks about this. If your verb begins with a vowel, you augment the vowel by lengthening it. And to lengthen an alpha, you would use an eta. So there's our augment. And if we were to conjugate, it would be agagon, agagez, agage, agagomen, agagete, agagon. But to make this infinitive, all right, you remove the augment. Okay, you drop the augment, you get rid of the eta, you bring it back to a alpha. There's what it would look like. You drop the on, and then you add your ain. Still gets a smooth breathing because of the vowel, and then it gets a circumflex over there. That would just be another example of an aorist infinitive. The aorist infinitive, once again, the translation is no different from the present infinitive. This would, libpain would mean to leave, and then agagain would mean to bring or to lead. The aspect would be different, okay? It would be a single instance of no determinate duration. All right. Hopefully these are helpful, and don't forget to look at the textbook as well for the paradigms.